My daughter took my phone and deleted every photo. You don't need memories. My voice shook as I said, you'll wish you could hold on to the past. When she found the old photo album I'd hidden, she wasn't ready for her. I lost my wife to cancer 2 years ago. Her name was Dana. We were married 29 years. She was everything to me. We lived in a quiet suburb just outside Madison, Wisconsin. We raised our daughter, Ava, in that house. I still live there. Ava moved back in after college, just before Dana passed. She said she wanted to be close, help out, but I think part of her just didn't know where else to go. She was adrift. I didn't blame her. When Dana got sick, it happened fast. Ovarian cancer. Stage 4. By the time we knew, there was no saving her. She was gone 6 months later. The night before the hospice nurse came, I sat beside her and held her hand. She looked at me and said, "Don't let her forget me." I promised I wouldn't. Ava didn't cry at the funeral. Not once. She didn't speak, either. Just stood beside me like a statue. Everyone told me she was strong. I knew better. 2 weeks later, Ava started getting rid of things. She cleared out Dana's clothes and boxed up her books. Then she started on the living room, photo frames, her old pottery, little knickknacks from our vacations. She dumped it all at Goodwill. I came home one day and the house looked stripped. What the hell happened to everything? I asked. She said, "I'm decluttering. It's healthy, Dad. You should try it." I bit my tongue. I didn't want to argue with her. She was grieving in her own way. That's what I told myself. But it didn't stop. She started following some guy online who talks about letting go of attachments. Minimalist lifestyle, all that crap. No furniture, no memories, just clean lines and white walls. She gave away the couch, stopped using her bed, started meditating in the garage like it was a temple. One night, I caught her looking through my phone. I asked what she was doing. "Just organizing your apps," she said. I should have known better. A few days later, I woke up and my phone was dead. When I got it charged and opened the photo gallery, it was empty. Every single photo gone. Videos too. I had years of memories in there. Vacations. Christmas mornings. Dana's voice. All of it. Just erased. I walked into the kitchen, shaking. Ava was eating cereal like it was any other morning. I said, "Did you delete my photos?" She didn't even flinch. "Yes." I stared at her. "Why would you do that? You don't need them, Dad. You're clinging. You can't move forward if you keep living in the past." I lost it. "You don't get to decide that for me." Her voice stayed flat. "It's what Mom would have wanted." That hit like a punch. "You don't know what your mother would have wanted." And then I said it. My voice cracked, but I meant every word. "You'll wish you could hold on to the past someday." She didn't respond. Just walked upstairs like I hadn't said anything. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. What Ava didn't know was that I'd hidden something months earlier. Before Dana passed, I printed our old photos. Not just digital stuff, real prints. I put together a photo album. Dana and Ava. Me and Dana. Our life. I tucked it inside an old Monopoly box in the attic, behind some insulation panels. Just in case. That night, I went up there and flipped through it. I cried quietly for hours. I started locking my office. Changed all my passwords. I stopped talking to Ava about anything personal. Something in her had shifted, and I didn't know how to reach her anymore. 3 weeks later, I came home and found her sitting on the couch holding the album. She must have been searching the attic, maybe looking for more clutter to toss. She didn't say anything when I walked in. Just held the book on her lap like it was burning her hands. I stood in the doorway and waited. She opened it, page by page. Her lips were pressed tight. She was shaking, but I stayed silent. Then she found the photo. It was Ava at 5 years old, sitting on Dana's lap. Her face was streaked with tears. Dana's arms were wrapped tight around her. That was the day after her dog, Max, died. I remember Dana whispering to her, "It's okay to feel sad. That's love leaving the body." Ava stared at that photo for a long time. "I forgot," she whispered. I sat beside her. "You didn't forget," I said. "You buried it." She didn't argue. She just sat there with tears running down her cheeks. But what she didn't know, what she still doesn't know, is that there are photos in that album she's never seen. Things I didn't want to share until the time was right. Photos that show a part of Dana's life Ava never knew about. There are letters too. Secrets. Questions I've carried alone for decades. And soon, Ava's going to learn that not everything her mother left behind was meant to be forgotten. This isn't just about grief anymore. This is about truth. And some truths don't stay buried forever. Ava didn't speak for days after she found the photo album. She started keeping to herself, staying in her room most of the day. I heard her crying a few times late at night, soft but sharp, like the kind of crying you try to choke back. I left her alone. Figured she needed space. But then I noticed something strange. The album was gone. I checked the attic, the office, every closet. Nothing. I asked her if she had it. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I threw it away." I didn't believe her for a second. I know my daughter. That book shook her up. It rattled something in her brain she couldn't process. I think she wanted to hide it from herself as much as from me. That night, when she left for a late grocery run, I went into her room. I found it inside her bottom drawer, under a stack of white shirts. She hadn't thrown it away. She'd been looking through it. There were sticky notes on some of the pages. Notes in her handwriting. One of them was stuck next to a picture of Dana holding a letter. It wasn't just a random moment. I remembered that letter. It was postmarked from Chicago. Ava's handwriting said, "Who sent this?" That photo was taken 6 months before Dana was diagnosed. I remembered the envelope too. She got it on a Saturday morning, opened it alone on the porch, then cried in the bathroom for an hour. When I asked her about it, she said it was just some old mistake. I never pushed. Now I wish I had. There were a few more photos Ava had flagged. A man standing in the background of a church group photo. A different address on the back of a Christmas card. Dana holding a baby I didn't recognize. Then I found a sticky note that made my stomach turn. It was next to a photo of Dana at a hospital, holding newborn Ava. The note just said, "Where was Dad?" I didn't know what to think. I was there when Ava was born. I cut the cord. I held Dana's hand the whole time. What was Ava seeing that I wasn't? The next morning, I confronted her. "Why are you marking up the album?" I asked. "Why are you asking where I was when you were born?" She didn't answer right away, just stared at me. Then she said, "Were you always my father?" I froze. "What the hell are you talking about?" She looked me dead in the eye. "Did Mom cheat on you?" My blood went cold. I felt like the floor shifted under me. "Is that what you think?" I asked. She pulled out the album from behind her chair. She flipped to the photo of the man in the church group. "This guy? Who is he?" I had no answer. I'd never seen him before. But Dana had circled his face with pen. It wasn't faint. It was intentional. Ava slammed the book shut. I need to know who I am. That night, she left the house and didn't tell me where she was going. She came back 3 days later with a DNA test kit in her hand. "I already sent mine in," she said. "I need you to do the same." I stared at the box. I didn't say anything. I didn't touch it. Ava didn't push. She just left it on the table and went to bed. That box sat there for a week. I kept walking past it, feeling sicker each day. Because the truth was, I didn't know everything. There were parts of Dana's past I'd chosen not to question. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought love meant protecting her, even from herself. But maybe love also meant telling your daughter the whole story, no matter how much it hurts. And maybe that album wasn't just about memories. Maybe it was a ticking bomb. The DNA results came back 2 weeks later. Ava didn't say anything at first, just handed me her phone with the screen open to the email from the testing site. It said we weren't a match. Not even close. I felt the room tilt. My mouth went dry. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stood there waiting, like she'd already gone through all the emotions while I'd been walking around clueless. "You're not my biological father," she said. "You never were." I sat down. My knees couldn't hold me. She kept going, calm and quiet. "There's a man listed on the results. A possible first cousin. He's in Chicago. His last name is Mullen." That name hit me like a gut punch. I'd heard Dana say it once, years ago. It was after Ava was born. She got a call from a number she didn't recognize, stepped outside, and I heard her say, "I told you, we can't do this anymore, Mullen." When she came back inside, her hands were shaking. I asked who it was. She said it was a wrong number. Ava sat down across from me, gripping her knees. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" I looked at her and said the only truth I had, because I didn't know. She searched my face for a long time, like she was trying to spot a lie hiding under my skin. But there wasn't one. I truly didn't know. I raised her from birth. I loved her like she was my blood because to me, she was. Still is. But that didn't change the facts. Over the next few days, she stopped speaking to me again, locked herself in her room. I heard her on the phone late into the night. Once I caught a name, James Mullen. Then things got worse. She started asking neighbors questions. digging through old yearbooks. Reached out to Dana's sister, Carol, who I haven't spoken to since the funeral. Carol refused to talk to me, but she took Ava's call. 2 days later, Ava came into the kitchen with a file folder. She slapped it on the table. Mom went to Chicago 3 times the year before I was born, she said. She told you she was visiting her cousin. But Carol says she was with a man. A guy she dated before you. He was married at the time. She opened the folder. Inside were printed copies of old emails. Dana's emails. I found these in her Yahoo account. The one you never used. I flipped through them. They were between Dana and a man named James. The first was dated 1996. A year before Ava was born. I miss you, one read. But we both know I can't undo what I chose. Another later. I told Mark she's his. I had to. My hands went numb. I asked, where did you get the password? Ava looked me in the eye. I guessed it. There were dozens of messages. Some short, some pages long. But all with the same thread. Guilt, fear, love, regret. Dana had been torn in half, trapped between a man who wouldn't leave his wife and me. The man who never asked too many questions. Ava said, I found his address. He's still alive. I stood up. Ava, don't do this. She shook her head. You don't get to tell me that anymore. I need to know where I come from. She left the next morning for Chicago, and I sat in that empty house and realized something. She wasn't just looking for the truth. She was looking for someone to blame, someone to punish. And maybe that someone was me, because I raised her on a lie, even if I didn't know it. Ava was gone for 5 days. She didn't call, didn't text. I didn't know if she found him or what she planned to do if she did. I barely ate, barely slept. Just sat in that quiet house with the silence Dana left behind. I kept replaying the emails in my head. Her lies. My silence. The things we both chose not to face. On the 6th day, Ava came home. She walked in through the front door like she still lived there. Her eyes were red, but her face was steady. I met him, she said. She didn't mean it as an invitation. It was a statement. I nodded and waited. His name's James Mullen. He's 70 now. Retired. Lives in a condo outside Oak Park. Married still. 2 grown kids who don't know I exist. I didn't say anything. She dropped her bag by the stairs and sat across from me. He admitted everything. Said he and Mom had an affair for 2 years. Said she told him I wasn't his when she found out she was pregnant. I looked up. He told her to lie to you. Said it'd be easier that way. That he couldn't blow up his family. She laughed once, cold and short. He thanked me for not destroying his life. Like I did him a favor just by being born and keeping my mouth shut for 25 years. I felt something in my chest twist. He tried to hug me when I left, she said. I told him if he ever contacted me again, I'd send every email to his wife and kids. I have his address. I have his grandkids' names. I showed him I was serious. A chill ran through me. Why would you do that? I asked. She looked at me, tired. Because he made Mom lie. And he made you live in the dark. And he made me feel like I was nothing more than a problem that got buried. I asked, and what about me? Do I deserve that too? She stared at me long and hard. You didn't lie, but you let yourself not ask questions for 20 years. That's its own kind of betrayal. That one cut deep. Because she was right. I didn't want to know the truth back then. I saw cracks in Dana, but I looked away. I loved her too much, or maybe I was just too afraid of what I'd lose if I faced it. I'm not angry you're not mine, I said. I'm angry she didn't trust me enough to tell me. And I'm angry I didn't push when I should have. Ava's eyes softened, but just a little. She stood up and walked to the bookshelf, one of the few places she hadn't cleared out during her purge. She pulled out the album, the one we both couldn't let go of. Mom made a mess, she said, and now I have to live with it. Then she opened to the last page. A letter was tucked in the sleeve. It was yellowed, worn at the edges. She handed it to me. I found it behind the liner in the back. She wrote it to you, but she never gave it. I opened it slowly. Her handwriting was still the same, sharp, slanted. I read every word. It said she was sorry, that she was afraid I'd leave her if I knew, that James wasn't the man I was, that I loved Ava like she was my own and she couldn't bear to ruin that. It ended with one line. You were always the better man. I just wasn't the better woman. I folded it slowly. My hands didn't shake. I felt calm, wrecked, but calm. Ava said, I'm moving out. I can't stay here. I nodded. I know. She turned toward the stairs, then stopped. But I'm not cutting you out. You raised me. You're still my dad. Just not the only one. I watched her walk upstairs. The house was quiet again. But this time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned.